welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. As always, huge massive thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. So I've swapped over now to another set from the Hunkydory Christmas Blockbuster, and this one is called Christmas Style. And I'm going to start with this beautiful tree, which is the Deck the Hall set. So we've got this massive topper here, which I think is about 6 inches long and just over 5 wide. That's if you use all of the frames. So yeah, just over the 6 and 4.5 plus 1 knot, so 1/16. So that's the biggest one. And then we've got these two smaller ones. We've got this one that could be a topper on its own. We've got wishing you a very Merry Christmas, a special gift just for you. We've got 2 buttons with the star and the gift on, and then a Deck the Halls. And then the printed cardstock, we've got these beautiful corners going on with the gifts. Probably supposed to be that way around so that the little tie at the top is there, otherwise it was upside down the other way. So I must make sure I pay attention to that. And then the foiled one has this beautiful scrolling at the top, so super stunning. So that's what we're going to be playing with today. So let me just pop that to the side, and I'm going to start by bringing in a 5x7 card blank that I've made by using the A3 pad from Hunkydory. And then I've also, so this is the Ink Me cardstock, and then I've taken a piece which is 5 and I've cut it to 4.5. So let's start by bringing in the scoreboard, because what I want, oops, there goes the trimmer. What I want is a nice chunky step on the front. So I'm going to score at 2 and at 4. And then we can pop that one back out of the way. We're going to do a little mountain fold and then a valley on there. So it's just either folding up or into it or folding down. So you're going to have something that looks a little bit like that. Now I find the easiest way to attach this to the bottom of my card, just grab some red liner tape, super sticky. I'm just going to pop that on the bottom. Now there are 2 ways to attach it. I think I have said about this before. If you prefer your join to be at the back of your card, and there's no right or wrong with this one, you can just pop your sticky on that inside lip. I'm going to put mine on the front and hide it with my layers. By the time I have my layers on there, it's going to be barely noticeable. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of Kalau tacky glue onto that edge. But like I say, it's all personal preference. I don't notice it when the card is made up. But if it's something that catches your eye and you want to do it the other way, yeah, like I say, horses for courses and all that. So now we've got our card that's going to be like that, sort of like a very weird M, and it will stand like so with that step coming forward. Okay, so let's bring in the trimmer that is clapped to the floor. Sorry about the creaky chair. It's creaky like my bones. And the foiling on this set is gold. So I've got a piece of A4 gold mirror card, because obviously we've got that 7-inch length. And I'm going to take 2 notches or 1/8 off that 5 inches. And then the same again off that 7-inch. And that should fit quite nicely onto there, like so. And then this bit is going to be way too small, so I'm going to do something that I really shouldn't do. Actually, let me just see. I've got a piece here actually. So I've got a piece, an offcut piece here. So I'm going to cut that down to 2 notches under the 5. So this is for our step, which is 5 by 2. And I'm just going to take 2 notches off those 2 sides. I did do it off the 5, didn't I? Yeah, I did. So that one will fit onto there like so. And then if I grab that beautiful foiled cardstock, and again I'm going to take another 2 notches off it, another 1/8 of an inch off there, and I'm going to take that to 4 3/4. So this does mean that if I wanted to do a slightly bigger card, maybe a 7-inch, I certainly could do that with that leftover piece. And then we're going to cut this to 6 3/4. So I'm going to take that flooring piece off for now, and then hopefully if this is 1 3/4 we're going to be good to go, and it's not. So let's see. So the other idea I had, so I do want that floor to be in there. So what I'm going to do is, because I only need a tiny piece, so I'm just going to take the edge of the cardstock that the top is on, because it is the same pattern, the same green, so all of those little dots, that sort of bokeh effect. So if I take that big chunk of the goldy bits off there, I'm going to cut that down to 4 3/4. Now I think with a bit of ribbon or something along there, we're going to be able to hide that quite nicely. So what I need is a nice piece of gold ribbon, and then we're going to be able to hide that very nicely along there. So that is the base. Now let me just grab my ribbon pouch, and I'm pretty sure in here I have like a shiny gold. So this is the one I'm thinking about, if I can find the end of it. Normally they're wound up quite nicely in here, but I have been getting very sloppy with all of my packing away. But there we go. So now we just need a piece. I'm going to do it, I'm going to cut it to, so it's 5, I'm going to cut it to about 7. And then we'll pop that to the side in case we decide that we want a bow or something. I don't think it's what I want on there, but we will see. Okay, so let's start with some glue. So Kalau all-purpose glue. I use 2 glues on my projects currently. So the glues that you're going to see, that I again haven't been putting away very carefully, is the Kalau tacky glue, which is the white one, Kalau all-purpose glue, which is an alcohol-based glue. Sometimes I also use the Hunkydory dotty tape pen, one of my favourite things. And you'll probably also see the purple glue stick at some point as well. So because I want to put that ribbon on, I'm going to do the gluing onto the gold piece first, and then I can hide all of those workings behind. Now because this is a smaller piece, I'm just going to use the glue tape pen, dotty tape pen on there. Just find that it glues a lot faster. And you can see that just fits in really nicely above that gold piece. But if I take a little bit of my red liner tape again, my super sticky, if I can find the end, nice little bit there. And I just, in terms of managing that tape, what I do is I have a magnetic hook that attaches to the metal leg of my table, and it goes on there. I've got a couple of these magnetic hooks. I got them from Temu, I think. There was a set of quite a few of them. I actually bought them for Christmas because I've been using them to hang the decorations, because it's easier to pop a few, because of my mobility, it's easier to pop a few drawing pins in the ceiling and paint over them, and then use these magnetic hooks to pop the Christmas decorations up. It means I can use a grabber stick, you know, I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. It's like an extendable pole that you press the side in and it sort of grabs. It means I can put them up and take them down with that. So that's how I ended up with quite a few of these magnetic hooks, but they are great for just popping onto the side of your table. These ones are white, but I think they do come in a range of colours if you have got a sort of colour coordinated craft room. That's something I aspire to, but we're not nowhere near that yet. Okay, so let's just pop that on. And even if I left that gold off, because there is that gold underneath it, it would look fine. So I could have gone just a little bit tighter with that ribbon, I think. Let me just see if I could just tighten that up a little bit. Just a little baggier than I want it to be. So let's just peel that off, because it is the type of ribbon this is, it won't fray. It's quite it's not a natural material, it's quite crispy, I guess is the word I would use. But there we go. And we're going to have our topper over that anyway, eventually. Okay, let's go in with the back now. So, and ribbon, little borders, they're perfect ways to hide mismatches in your cardstock, or if you want to join two pieces of cardstock. Maybe like for instance, you've got your image on that side and you want it to be on your card on that side. What you can do is, as long as you're sort of checking out these bits at the top, you can cut that off, switch that over to that side and pop a ribbon or a border to hide that join. Sometimes I think it hardly notices at all, and you probably would get away with not using anything, especially if you're popping a topper or something over the top of it. But ribbons and those sort of things are great for hiding that sort of thing. Okay, so we've got that in, and really all I've done is just made sure I'm happy with the top and the sides, because nobody is going to see what's on the bottom, and that is how our card base is looking. So already it's looking really pretty. Now we are going to go with the big one, because I've got that bigger card. That was the whole point of using that 5x7. And if you didn't want to use a 5x7, you don't have to use all of these as frames. You can cut it off here and here, use it as a border, maybe a flag, you know, just use that inside. The great thing about Hunkydory is they do put these frames on there, and it does give you options. I do like to try and use at least one of the frames where I can, but there are more than one ways to use them, is what I'm saying. So you could go with just this one in the middle. Let me just pop it out and I'll measure it for you. And I'm going to grab my scissors because that one does not want to separate. Come on. That was well connected. There we go, round and round and round. I'll just check, see if there's any sticky up bits. So this on its own is 5 by 1, 2, 3, just over 3.5. So you know, you've got options there. You don't have to use it with a frame if you prefer not to. Okay, so this is going to go behind. I am going to raise that up, and then we're going to have our tree over the top. So we've got our floor sort of matching in. Now I can see, even though I thought I'd checked, there is a couple of little pips. And the pips are just little little pieces of where the cardstock has been attached to each other, so they don't cut all the way around, otherwise everything would just fall out into a pile on the floor. They have these little paper pips, as I call them, just to keep everything together and neat until they arrive with you. So I am going to go with, I think I'm going to go with 1mm on this one, because I just want it to pop a little bit away from that back. So let's just chop those in half, these little 1mm. And I don't really have to worry where I'm putting these because they are all going to be hidden. What you might want to consider before putting your foam pads or your little risers on is what sort of envelope you're going to pop this card into. If it's got a little bit of give, you could possibly go to 2mm. Just bear in mind we're going to put some on this front piece as well, and when this is folded up, I will show you in a second. So let's say we're putting this on here when this is folded up, so you've still got quite a bit of thickness, especially here. So we just want to be mindful of that with our foam pads. If you've got the ability to make a box, that's perfect. But if you are looking for it to go into a slim envelope, you might want to keep one or two of these layers flat. All decisions for you to make. So just popping these backs off. And in. Yeah, and then I'm going to bring in the purple glue stick, which is, it actually came, I wouldn't have bought these off the top of, you know, sort of a sale. This, I actually got one in the goodie box recently, which is why I decided to use it, and honestly they are brilliant. I will be buying some in the future, I tell you, but I have got another one there. So let's just pop this over there. It is going to hide some of that swag, but we're not going to worry about that too much. I just bring it down just a little bit so you can see how those foam pads make it just that little bit slidey, which is great. Because this one is going to go on, so when the card is folded up, it will all look as it would normally, or as it was on the sheet. So I'm just going to use some 2mm foam pads. I'm lucky enough to have some envelopes that do have a nice amount of give on them, so I can pop a nice amount on there, because that's going to be the support for this piece. That's all there is going to be supporting it. Again, I'm going to use that purple glue stick on there. And then if I close that card up, I can sort of just judge that there. If I want to, well, it's actually right to the edge with those foam pads. But what I was going to say is if I needed to, I could sneak another one under there. But we've got that ribbon being held quite nicely in place as well now. So I'm happy with that. Now we do want a sentiment. So I think I'm going to go with the little square one. Let me just grab that if it'll pop. There we go. This is the one that says deck the halls, because we've got that sort of shopping centre. Now I think it probably needs to come down here. So I am going to go with a 2mm foam pad there. I'll pop that off. A little bit of glue on there and there. And we're going to pop that on. And then I think we will just have, you know how I like my little gems. Let's pop going to turn it upside down. Sorry, I know it makes it harder for you guys to see, but just in this top corner, it's just easier than trying to rest on top of that step, which is popping. And then one on that side, we'll have those two. So these are just decreasing in size. So we've got the bigger one sort of slightly smaller, and then the smaller again. And then that is going to be our card number 1. Just move that one just a tad. That will fit, oops, quite nicely on. And what you'll find is that tree is going to, it's not going to be right in the centre, but you're still going to have that framing it. That's card number 1, and I'm going to get set up for card number 2. Okay, so for card number 2, I kind of thought that the, there's a trimmer again. The toppers would lend themselves to a bow front card, so that's what I'm going to do. So I've got a piece of a 6x12 cardstock. It's 300 GSM. Just move those out of the way a second. And I'm just going to start by scoring it at 6 inches. That's the halfway mark. And then I'm going to just go back and score at 1.5 and at a 4.5. So let's just turn that round. Let's go this way so it's slightly whiter on the front. And then what I can do is just give these scores. And then what this card will do is I'm going to put a border on this side, and it will stand on a shelf like so. We'll go flat into a card for flat into an envelope to post them, but it just gives us that center panel to decorate. Now I'm not going to decorate all of the inside because I haven't received my inserts yet. So you can see where that little Geronimo's been biting. So I am going to decorate this portion here with the border that I'm going to need as my stopper. And I'm going to decorate the front, and then at a later date I'll put the insert in, so you will get the effect of the card coming through. So let me grab my trimmer. Having said that, I will be using cutting 2 pieces of the gold mirror. So for the back, I'm going to pop, actually I'm not actually, am I? Or am I not? Yeah, let's do it this way. It's going to make it easier. So I've taken a 6x6 mirror mat, and I've taken 1/8 of an inch off 2 of those sides. So that's going to pop into there like so. And then for the front, so I'm going to take 2 notches or 1/8 of an inch off one of the sides. And then I want 2 pieces to mat into these 1.5. So I'm going to take 1/8 of an inch off those. And another one for the other side. And then this one in the middle is 3. So I'm going to take that to 2 notches or 1/8 of an inch under that 3. And then if I grab a piece of gold mirror left over here, let's see what the size on that is. That one's not going to be much good. Bear with me 2 seconds because I have got a piece here I can use. This one's a bigger piece than I wanted really. What I'm going to do is just take a piece and cut it at 3/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to cut that to 5 3/4. Okay, so we're going to be using that as our stopper. Then I'm going to take the printed cardstock. I'm going to start by cutting it at 5 3/4, just so I've got a smaller piece to work with. And then I'm going to cut it down to size lengthwise, so 5 3/4. And then we want to take 2 pieces at 1 1/4. So that one's going to go onto that side. I'm going to turn this around, so 1 1/4 that side. There, and then we want this piece to be 2 3/4. Actually, what I'll do is do it that way around. Take that piece off. Okay. It's just that our topper is going to go on there, so that's going to be fine. And then I want a piece to go on that 3/4 of an inch piece, so I'm just going to take 2 notches off of that, and I'm going to pop that onto there like so. And then if I just grab that piece from before, and I want another piece of this, but I just want as much of the green as I can, so I'm going to cut that to 1 inch. So I won't be using this one on another card. And let's see, so it needs to be 5 3/4. There, and this is going to go onto this piece here, just so we've got a bit of something to break up that red. Okay, so it will all come together. You will see what I mean in just a second. So let's go ahead and start assembling this. Let's put those to the sides. So let's pop this back piece on, and usually, to be honest, what I tend to do is do this in 2 smaller pieces, but just for quickness today I'm doing it in 1, so there won't be a little white border between the pieces on here as such. Okay, so you will see that. So this piece here, we'll use the dotty on the corners, and this is going to go onto this end. Oops, pop it. Onto here. Like I said, it doesn't really matter about this little bit of the sort of decoration being there, because we're going to have that piece going across it. So we'll pop some dots on there, pop a little bit, not too much, because we don't want it to splurge out onto that gold. Stay. And that's going from the bottom to the top, so all we need to do is just make sure those sides are nice and even. And we will have some 2mm foam pads on that. So this, remember, is our stopper. Ice cream man. Not that I can afford ice cream man. Ice cream man. Okay, so then I can pop this just onto there. It just needs to be just inside, and then what I would do is measure that piece there. So it is, we know it's going to be 5 3/4, and I would cut the insert at probably a 4.5 plus 2 notches, and I think that would sit in that space quite nicely. Like I say, if you do those separately, you can just work that out as you go along. Let's come in with these pieces here. They're chunky enough to be able to use the normal glues. It tends to be smaller pieces like this, this sort of 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. I tend to use the dotty tape pen. I just find it stops them lifting. Sometimes they get, the smaller pieces tend to lift for some reason, which annoys me too much. So, but this size, 1.5 inches or 1.25 as it was, tends to sit okay where I am. Let's just put that on. Turn that round. Yeah, it's looking good. And then again, and I sort of think this card is always best for when you are giving it to the person, because you can then explain how it sort of goes together, unless you sort of put a little diagram inside the card, a little piece of paper just showing how it's supposed to stand. But it's just quite a nice little fold if you want something popping out like we do. Pop that one on. And then last one. I sort of love this stage of the card when you start putting the base layers down and it all sort of starts coming together, even before you start putting the toppers on, you know. Especially with Hunkydory, because well, Hunkydory cardstock, because you know the cardstock is the star even before the topper goes on. It's always such beautiful cardstock. So just giving those a press down, make sure they're not moving any more than I want them to. Okay, so that's the finished card, not the finished card, but this cardstock, and that would then pop inside that piece like so. So that's where we are at the moment. So let's grab the toppers. Now I was thinking the smaller topper would look quite nice, this one here, but I think I'm going to go with this bigger one. I think I have changed my mind. Grab that one out. So this is going to go on that centre piece. I think I'm going to add this little button up here, and actually we might go, I do need something for the sentiment. I'll put that one down there. Maybe we can pop this one in the middle. Let's see how that goes. Move you up. Well, mind you, it's got Merry Christmas on it, so we don't need it. So we can just pop that in. That's going to be our star. And then we're going to have that there, a couple of gems, and that is going to be our finished card. So again, just be aware of what sort of size envelope you're using. If you are going to be using 2mm or 3mm foam pads. Now I need to just grab some Hunkydory foam pads. We'll just use 2 of these, just saves me getting the other ones out. Just want one in the middle there. There we go. And I'm just going to go around those pips again. That's that one, there's some on there. And these, I noticed them, but you know, it depends on your point of view if you notice them or not. You might want to leave them as they are. You might want to use your scissors to cut these out of the or release them from the pips in the first place, which does tend to be a bit tidier. But it's all, you know, down to what you do. let's grab some purple glue stick on there. And if you've got any of those lights that they had on this week, you could always poke a few holes and pop a couple of lights in there to make this light up as well. Let's bring that down and over. I'm not even going to worry about purple glue stick on this one, just going to go down the bottom there. And the same with the gift at the top. And then we just need those gold. And I think what I'm going to do is have 2 of those, 2 of those, 1 of those. So these ones are a bit more chunkier. And I'm going to pop 3 on this side here. Oops, strunk. Got a bit close together with that glue, but it should work out okay. We just spread those out. And that glue does dry clear, but if you are at all worried about it, if you've got any of the teeny tiny daubers, just take some of that out. Then you can manoeuvre them back where you want them to be. And that will dry clear. I won't make the same mistake. So these ones, those that I'm using, they are teeny tiny daubers, but they came from Carnation Crafts. They were actually a free gift at a show because we bought some dies. There we go. So that is the finished card. It will slip in like so. Obviously, like I say, you're going to have that insert in there when that comes. But it will stand very comfortably on a shelf. I mean, it could even be displayed the normal way if you know, even if they didn't realise how, it still would make a nice card. But that is card number 2 all finished. Just put that in. If I bring back card number 1, that's our 5x7 with a step. So we've still got plenty left to craft on here. So we've got that foiled image with the tree. We've got another tree there. We've got season's greetings. Like I say, that could be a small card by itself with that as a sentiment, especially like on here with that tree. That would be super cute. We've got this piece and we've got this piece as well. So plenty left to craft with. I can see at least 4 cards out of that, if not 5, depending on size, of course. But that's it for today. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to come back again next time with the Christmas style collection. So that's what we'll be working through. I'm going to pick another 2 from that set. There are, if you ever get stuck, there are loads of examples over on the Hunkydory Pinterest, or even Hunkydory crafts themselves. If you just go onto the gallery there, you'll see loads of inspiration from people that are on the design team and from the guys there at Hunkydory as well. But that's it, like I say, for today. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you're all going to have a great weekend coming up, but I will see you again on Sunday. But until then, happy crafting. Bye.